Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Ted Dixon, CEO and co-founder of InkResearch.ca. He invented the Inc. Canadian Insider Index, which is used by the Horizons Canadian Insider Index ETF, a 2017 and 2018 fund data Fund Grade A Plus award winner. His website, CanadianInsider.com. Welcome back to the show, Ted.
Well, Jim, it's great to be back during fascinating times in the market, that's to say the least.
Is the big reaction we're seeing in the U.S. and Canadian stock markets due to the coronavirus, or is this just because the markets had been setting record highs for the past year and it was time for a correction?
Well, there's probably a bit of both in that, but for sure the catalyst that caught everyone basically off guard here was the coronavirus, the pneumonia that's associated with it. You know, the market had been really flying on liquidity, and the problem with relying on liquidity, it's great until liquidity decides it's going to go somewhere else other than the stock market. So while we still have the Fed buying treasury bills, standing there at the repo window, willing to, write checks, that money is now going into sort of short-term cash, euro dollars and the like, and it's not going into big tech stocks, and it's certainly not going into crude oil, as we all know. So what's been really worrying for us is the behavior and reaction of U.S. insiders to this collapse. And we wrote about this to our clients today, and it's available to subscribers on insidertracking.com. We've downgraded the U.S. market to overvalued. We've kind of been waiting, but when we saw the collapse, and if you just look at the chart, that's probably an appropriate way to describe the U.S. market, even though it's only a few percent. When you look at it on the chart, it does look like a straight down. It's kind of an elevator down, and it's only gone down a few floors, fortunately, but it is a straight down collapse. And insiders haven't really done anything, Jim. This is very unusual. So what it's suggesting to us is that insiders are not being in because the risks have risen. So what you're seeing here is a sell-off in relation to heightened risks, which is quite rational. If, and this won't, this is hypothetical, if someone were to come out with a cure for this disease that's related to the virus tomorrow, I think you would probably see the market fly back up because we still have those same liquidity circumstances, and you would see the money coming out of those safe assets, the euro dollar assets, and back into more riskier assets. But that's the chances of that happening are very slim. You never say never. It'd be great if that happened. So now we're left with this uncertainty, and this uncertainty is going to drag on for a while. I believe there's going to be every attempt by Washington to try and stimulate the stock market, get it higher. There's going to be all sorts of attempts to do that. With this uncertainty, though, they're only going to have so much luck because there's only so much that these policymakers can do to deal with this uncertainty. So, we've downgraded the U.S. market to overvalued. We'll keep an eye on insider activity, and if the market really gets out of sort of, if it really gets into doomsday mode then maybe things will get overdone. But as of this point, we're not seeing that sort of. We're not there yet. So I just be careful out there. Is the mantra I think we're trying to send to our subscribers. There are stock specific situations. If you're looking to take advantage of the sell off, there doesn't mean there aren't one or two situations that are attractive. It just those are very specific, and they would be one-off situations that are company specific. But in general, the risks have generally risen. And when you think about it, I mean, there's around the world, people are reassessing their travel plans. I was talking to a friend of mine who's planning to go to Tokyo to the Olympics, and I said, well, it's probably going to happen, but there is a chance that even the Olympics can't happen, right? Like maybe it's a 5% chance, a 1% chance, but a month ago it was, wasn't even on anyone's radar screen. So, when you've got those types of uncertainties, it's not only going to have a hit on the economy in the short term, or and shaving a point here or a point there. People are trying to estimate, but you're going to have some specific companies that get into problems, and then you get into the whole issue about credit spreads, and then that has repercussions to impact the market, and that's why the market is so nervous. Is where does this lead? Where does it end? And we saw Thomas Cook, I believe it was, a few months ago, went bankrupt, and that came out of the blue. I believe I got that name wrong. I apologize if it's not right, but it was a travel agent out of Europe that has been in business for a long time, but it all of a sudden got into problems. So we have to be on the watch out for this. That there's going to be consequences as the world economy kind of reacts to this virus. So it's very disturbing times from that sense. And yes, there's going to be some opportunities out there. And I think we're seeing some in the junior gold area. By the way, I think that's an area that I was just looking at, before the show here. I think we're going to write about it in our report on the weekend for our subscribers, because we've seen a sell off in some of these juniors, and I think that's it's all part of the risk trade. But that's probably going to be an interesting area, one that maybe there's some opportunity opening up in.
We'll have more with Ted Dixon right after this.
Cypress Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, Recycling Trade Publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ted Dixon. Ted, what kind of impact is the energy sector looking at with Teck deciding it's not going ahead with its massive oil sands project in northern Alberta that was worth $20 billion? We're seeing oil-filled tanker cars on the railways held up by blockades. Is there pessimism or optimism in the energy sector, or is that something, again, you have to look at company by company?
Well, we're looking at three sort of key themes for the Canadian market. One we think is in play right now. That's the gold sector. And in fact, as before the break, I mentioned that there are some opportunities happening in the junior market because of the sell-off. We have seen some profit taking in some of the senior producers. And in fact, we wrote about one senior gold company today to our subscribers that we would not be heading into for a while. So there are company by company situations in the gold sector that we like, but energy, that's the the third area we're looking at, the others being cryptocurrency, but energy is a wait and see. And that's, we think that the crypto space will probably pick up fairly soon. That's just a hunch on our part, but energy is going to be a wait and see, particularly with this coronavirus. I think that's the bigger threat here than the tech disaster, and I call it a disaster because it's another self-inflicted wound here by Canadian policymakers. It's really pathetic. It really is pathetic, and the only way I sort of can reconcile this to not get too down on things is that, every country has these kind of problems, and so it's not just Canada, but we haven't been particularly good at dealing with them, and I don't know any country that's going to cut the magic formula, but we have our fair share of these environmental distortions, and I call them distortions. I mean environmental activist distortions, and we just don't have the policymakers that either have the willingness, such as the Trudeau government does not have the willingness to confront these myths that are and positions that these environmental activists are pushing, or do we have we may have some that have the stomach for it. There are a few kind of conservative hopefuls that for the conservative leadership that they don't have any problems kind of going up against these activists, but their message doesn't resonate yet across the community. Now, what I mean by that is, yes, I think there is a huge agreement that these blockades are bad. That I think you've got the majority of Canadians that will agree with any politicians that we should enforce the law. There are a few that of course we shouldn't do anything, but no, there's a general consensus. I think that we should enforce the laws here. How you go about it, is a matter, in execution of that. But at the end of the day, though, once the barricades come down, if they come down, you still need to confront the underlying narrative that these environmental activists have, and that is that all fossil fuels are bad, that they're destroying the world. We need to shut down the fossil fuel industry. Okay, you need somebody in the Conservative Party, I believe, that can take on that fight and say, no, wait a minute. Fossil fuels are part of the solution. Everyone's in this together, okay? Because guess what? You know why we have global warming? It's because people drive cars. It's not because Exxon or Canadian Natural Resources or Teck Resources is shoving, petroleum products down people's throats. There is a demand for it. Jim, when I drive by the gas station near my house and the gas goes down to 129.9, there's lineups around the block, right? It goes on sale. This is not and they're not handing out candy canes to get people to fill up. People need to fill up their cars. There's a demand for petroleum products, and none of these environmental activists have a solution for that, right? It is ridiculous. So there is a narrative that has to emerge that fossil fuels are part of the solution. It's not an easy challenge, but the fact of the matter is, if you believe that global warming is an emergency, the whole world could be on fire by the time you get the battery that's going to replace the combustion engine. Okay, so this is all, pardon the pun, an environmentalist pipe dream that you're going to be able to shut down the fossil fuel industry, replace it with Tesla cars that are running on batteries that everyone in the world can afford. People can, use these batteries and electric vehicles in Africa and in the Middle East, in Latin America. Every country in the world is going to be able to afford this new battery that's going to save the world from fossil fuels. There is no new battery. Okay? Yes, they're trying. But, if you really believe there's a climate emergency, you have to look at every possible solution. And we have scientists, we have innovative engineers in Canada that are working hard on carbon capture, that are working hard on making LNG, the whole process, less carbon intensive. Why aren't we backing that? Why aren't we backing those people? Why are we protesting? Why are we shutting down that industry? Why are we stopping people from going to work, to looking, that are looking for solutions to the climate crisis? But we don't have a conservative politician who can take on that narrative. And until we have someone who can counter this sort of self-righteous positions of the environmental movement's going to win, and they're going to get away with this. So, in one sense, it's a call to arms for those who believe that, and I mean call to arms, political arms. I'm not suggesting any sort of insurrection, so there's no need for that kind of inference. But it's a call for those, on the conservative side of the spectrum to really get their heads around the climate issue, right? And to get a believable, credible plan together that can stand in contrast to what the Trudeau government has, which is basically a carbon tax and kind of muddling through, and no real coherent strategy on how we're going to achieve our targets, right? So, really the ball is in the Conservative Party's court, and the leaders the opportunity is theirs, right? They've been handed this chaotic situation by the Trudeau government, and it's really up to the Conservative Party to now to run with that opportunity. But the only way they're going to do it, Jim, is if they can get a credible climate plan together that Canadians are going to believe, because then it's a slam dunk. Then, Canadians will, I believe, rally around a common sense approach to solving climate change, as opposed to having all this chaos that's developed, as a result of the Trudeau climate plan. And, but there's only one way to hold them accountable, and that is to have a better approach, and that is missing in action right now. And that's really should be the job number one of this Conservative Party leadership.
Ted, have you heard any of the candidates running for the Conservative leadership come up with any kind of plan yet?
Well, it's still early in the race, and they shouldn't at this point just sort of present a full-blown plan, but they should present some principles and where they want to go with it, and start laying the groundwork for it. So so long as they're on the road to a credible climate plan, then that's all they need to do right now, because really what we've seen out of Ottawa is a complete botching of this whole barricade situation, and that in itself has to be dealt with politically. So it's one step at a time. So I'm trying to be emphatic and trying to sort of move the needle, trying to encourage the Conservative Party hopefuls to really make it a priority. They can kind of take their time in the sense that, to pace themselves to have the plan ready for the next election. They don't have to have it all, they don't have to have it ready by June, in the middle of June for the Conservative Party leadership. But what they need to do is be able to convince Canadians that they've got an alternative. And, you do that by at the first, out of the gate, you can stake some principles. So it's a great opportunity for the Conservatives, and I hope they take it, because I think it'll be good for the country, to have a good debate, to have a debate, have the Canadian people decide, what approach is the best approach. And, that's all we, in a democracy, that's healthy. When you don't have those choices, though, that's when things become much more difficult.
We'll have more with Ted Dixon right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ted Dixon. Ted, what do you think's happening with cryptocurrencies?
Well, I think there's a lot of anticipation of the so-called Bitcoin having it. Like, I'm not holding myself out to be a cryptocurrency expert by any stretch of the imagination, but there is the algorithm update, or it's not really an update, but the algorithm is set to kick in where change at a certain point where it's going to be harder to mine the Bitcoin. So there's a lot of anticipation of this, and what that means really is that it increases the value of Bitcoin as a store of value because the inflation rate goes down. Unlike fiat currency where you have got the Fed saying, "Oh, if only we could get the inflation rate up," right? Bitcoin, the inflation rate is defined to go down. So let's see how that plays out once it actually happens. There's estimates, and I haven't got an update. I haven't seen an update of when that is expected. It's supposed to be sometime this spring. So there's going to be some volatility around that. But at the end of the day, I think the fundamental case for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is their role as a medium of exchange in an efficient way to pay for goods and services, and that's still taking some time. We have the U.S. Treasury is going to be bringing out some rules apparently on cryptocurrency, so that's probably a bit of an overhang here as well. Until they, once they announce what those rules are, then I think people will maybe, they'll know what they're dealing with. But right now, no one knows what they're going to be. So it is a bit of a cloud hanging over, cloud or a uncertainty, that's hanging over, regulatory uncertainty. So, the Treasury, I think, understands that they want to promote innovation in the U.S. They don't want the U.S. to be left behind as innovators. But on the other hand, they have some concerns that they want to address, and so hopefully they'll do that in the next few months. That would be great, and then I think we'll be on to the next phase. Then we'll know what we're dealing with because for cryptocurrencies to really get some traction, they're going to have to be more widely adopted in the big developed markets of the world, and that includes the United States. So let's see what the Treasury has up their sleeve, and then at that point we may see some more interest, and institutional interest might build a bit more in the cryptocurrency space.
Well, it seems something's a scam when they demand payment in Bitcoin. That's the reputation it has. Well,
yeah, but and there are businesses that are taking it now, and part of it is it is complicated and to do the payments. So you really have to want to do it and be a believer. And we've looked at it, from our site and for our sites and our subscription services. But just the cost and we estimate we would get in revenue. It's not a slam dunk business decision, and I think a lot of businesses are in the same boat. So. But as these solutions become more pervasive and you have different providers that adopt cryptocurrencies, well then you'll see it pick up. But I really think the U.S. Treasury rules are going to be a big deal. So let's see what they have to offer, and hopefully they'll be workable. And it could be the next spark that really starts innovation in the industry. So we'll have to see.
Ted, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Well, thanks for having me back, Jim.
My guest has been Ted Dixon, CEO and co-founder of inkresearch.ca, his website, CanadianInsider.com. If you have any questions for Ted or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.